What is up, everybody? Titan Bros are back finally for a video after a very disappointing 2022 season. I am Gabriel, joined with my brother Josiah, the brothers who make videos about Titans every now and again. So, officially, the 2022 season is over after we quite literally fumbled it over to the Jaguars, and that was the season. But I'm just going to go ahead and jump right on into a recap of that season. I think we are not as good as a 12-5 like we were the year before, but I also do not think we were 7-10 bad. I think we were worse than we were last year, but I don't think we were 7-10, missed the playoffs bad. I think, honestly, is what happened. Our offense was not good enough. But then Tannehill missing 5 games was the nail in the coffin. Our defense was good enough until injuries happened. Because we weren't losing some random person. We ended up losing David Long, Zach Cunningham, both of our starting inside linebackers. We ended up losing Christian Fulton for a lot of the season as our number 1 cornerback. We lost Farley, who was in a battle right up to the end to be the number 2 corner. He ended up losing it to Roger McCreary, but then even with all the injuries we ended up getting, he would have played a lot, but he ended up getting hurt again, out for season. Monty Hooker missed some time, came back, missed some time, came back. And then, of course, Danico Autry missed, I think, 5 or 6 games there with a knee injury. So all of our tip-top defensive players they didn't play that much, especially towards the end of the year. I think a combination of all of that, plus, like I said, the quarterback being the most important position on the team, Tannehill ended up missing 5 games. We also had the 2 games where the injury happened to him really bad that he hobbled back out there and tried to finish. And it was just too much for the season because we ended up still going to a win-in situation against the Jags, but fell short. And honestly, with the team that we were walking out there in Week 18, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think nobody really expected us to be 7-10. I think injuries did they had a big part of us losing that many games in a row to finish the season. But I will say this: I was watching some of the playoff games over the weekend, and I was just looking at these stacked rosters. Like almost every position is so good. I'm like, and I guess this is why he's gone, and we'll talk about it a little later. His replacement, but John Robinson just had too many holes in this roster. Our roster is not as good as any of the teams left right now. I mean, we got just so many issues. Receivers, offensive line. Like even before the injury started, we had a bad receiving core. And even our offensive line, we had so many people like, why are you starting right now? And we just have so many issues. I'm like, this is not built to be a Super Bowl team, And again, that's why he's gone. Injuries hurt us, but this roster was just not good enough to really do anything deep in the playoffs.
That's what the biggest issue was with John Robinson, besides missing on early draft picks. Way too many times we would have a position of the good player that either they would retire, their contract would go up, or they'd just be a cap casualty and we'd have to cut them, but we wouldn't replace them. Like with Roger Saffold being the perfect example, he's making $14 million a year at 34 years old at left guard. That's too much money, especially the way he was in and out of the lineup a lot in his last year or two. We cut him. I think it was the right thing to do. But then we just have Aaron Brewer.
Yeah.
He's a good depth piece, but he is way too small to be a tackle or a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he can come in for a drive or two, but like that. And then we just did that way too often.
And I'm still thinking, you cut someone like Saffold because you want to save money so you can have more cap space. But if you're not going to spend it for a replacement or nothing, what are you doing with the money? I mean, I would rather actually pay that for Saffold than us have that money and just not pay anybody and have Aaron Brewer as his backup. Actually, as a starter. You know what I mean? I mean, I might as well have him and pay him that money than do nothing with the money. And I don't get why John Robinson did that. He just left, just like you said, never found replacements.
Is what the real issue is. It's not that he's not doing anything with the money, but we reworked Tannehill's contract several times. And by reworking his contract this year we just finished, the season we just finished, and next year, his cap hit is just way too high. It's way too high. And originally it wasn't that way because his annual value of his contract, I think, was only $29 million. It was only $29 million a year. But because we wanted Julio Jones, which I kind of still think was the right move, but boy, did he fall off a cliff, and he was even worse for the Bucs this year. we had restructured him for that. And I feel like we restructured him one other time. I think we restructured him twice, but it just made it where the cap hit was just too big. And we had to cut people like Roger Saffold just to make room for basically Tannehill. And that's why that's why we weren't able to keep people like him around.
Yeah.
Which is why most of the good teams right now have a quarterback on a rookie contract. Trevor Lawrence just got knocked out of the playoffs because they're only paying him like $2 million a year. Jalen Hurts was a 3rd or 4th round pick, so he's probably only making like $1.5 million a year. Justin Herbert, he's on his rookie contract. Joe Burrow, he's on his rookie contract. Sadly, the moment you start paying Brock Purdy on his rookie contract, obviously, but sadly, when you start paying a quarterback big money, you just simply do not have the money to keep all the good players you need.
Yeah.
Which is what most teams are doing, is they just stack their offense and then just hope for the best with their defense.
That's the way of the league right now. I don't like it really, but that is the way of business right now. I agree.
Yeah. So, which is why this is just gonna be a tease for a later conversation. But that's why I almost wish we would just keep Tannehill for this coming season. It'd be the last deal of his contract. Let him play it. That would be that. So that way, as soon as he's done, his big cap hits are just done. And we can actually have wiggle room for our salary.
The problem is Tannehill's just that quarterback. We'll get off subject here to another video, but Tannehill's good enough where you're not going to have a top 10 pick in the draft where you can replace him, but he's bad enough where you're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. So he's just keeping you that 15 to 20 draft pick, and you can't really find a replacement for him. You kind of get stuck with a guy like him.
I mean, I agree with you, especially when you're paying him that much money.
Yeah.
Which, again, the original contract was a good contract, but we kept restructuring to slide in people like Julio Jones making $15 million a year.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And plus paying Jadeveon Clowney $16 million a year, plus Vic Beasley $9 million a year the same year.
None of those really worked out.
No, it was $24 million. We basically just threw up in the wind. So that knocked out our whole, I think it was 2020 right there. And then the 2021 was the Julio Jones thing. And then 2022, I think it's just Tannehill's cap hit was what ended up catching up to us. So anyways, yeah, that's just basically a review of the 2022 season, which I will go ahead and just throw this out here right now. I hate seeing the Jags Nation and them all bragging like they're the most amazing team in the world because they went 9-8 and barely won the AFC South and had to do a win and get in situation. I hate seeing that. It drives me up the wall. But in the end, if we had won, we would have gone from pick 11 to pick 18 at the very worst.
Yeah. I would say this.
I'm glad we lost because with the team we had, we would have done anything in the playoffs.
No, I agree. And that's why, when we lost to Jags, I was not even that upset at all. That was the happiest I've been. Not saying I was happy, but I wasn't fretting it at all when we lost because we would have probably been bounced by the Chargers and like now we have a better draft pick. So I'm not really too worried about it. Us not making playoffs.
I'm not one of those people that want to take a season before it starts because there are so many people I've heard on Twitter or even on YouTube. So many people want us to just tank the entire 2023 season.
There's a lot of people. Yes, a lot of people says that.
A lot of people were saying it, and this last season wasn't even over with. We had like 4 or 5 games left of 2022, and they're already saying, all right, so we need to lose out this year and then tank next year. And I'm just like, so you're not wanting to be cheering for football until 2024?
That's
I'm not ready
tough
to write that off.
That's tough to do as a fan, but the name of the game in today's NFL is getting yourself a good young quarterback, and I think a lot of Titan fans want some so bad, which I get, I really do. When you're just running out with Ryan Tannehill and you got Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, you're like, what are we going to do with this guy? Nothing. And so you do want to choke up a year just so you can have that. I get it. But as a fan, though, at the same time, I'm not ready just to throw a whole season away.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, especially with the Titans are trying to build a stadium, an expensive stadium. And if you start losing out, that's money you need to be building the stadium.
Yeah.
So, that's just me. But also, in my opinion, this is the last year that Derrick Henry will be a top 5 running back.
Yeah.
Because he's going to turn 30 I think January is when his birthday is. Or December. Actually, it's January. He'll turn 30 in January, which means at the very end of next season.
And I say this, it's sad, but there's too many great running backs out there without a Super Bowl ring, and I feel like Derrick Henry is just going to be added to that group.
Yeah, probably. But
wasted his career.
We did. We had a good run.
Yes.
So it is what it is. It is what it is. Season 2022 is over. Obviously a disappointment, but the lack of firepower, the lack of offensive line, and then the injuries on defense killed the season. Because I haven't lost any faith in Vrabel. I still think he's a top head coach, but we'll see how it all goes. The last thing we're going to tackle, which is going to be the bulk of the video, even though we're already 10 and a half minutes in, but it's going to be the offensive coordinator. The best thing that happened, and a lot of people were happy we lost against the Jags, is a lot of folk were saying, what if we went on this fairy tale magic run, made it into the playoffs, and beat the Chargers? And technically Malik Willis took the Chiefs, who we would have played in the next round, took the Chiefs to overtime. So if Tannehill would have been back by then, or if Josh Dobbs would have stepped in, who was obviously way better than Malik Willis, you never know. We could go on a magical fairy tale run, but by doing that, we might have hung on to somebody like Todd Downing, who just needed to go. Yeah. So he got fired, and surprisingly, he was part of the Black Monday cuts. That's what they call it, right? Black Monday.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit later. He went one of those early morning ones, just like afternoon/early evening things, but he did go.
That was the best news I got in a while.
Yeah. So
with Todd Downing cut, that does leave an opening though, and a lot of candidates out there. Do you want to start? Or?
Yeah. So there's 3 people that the Titans have indeed reportedly requested an interview with, or even already had one. I kind of lost a little bit of track on that. There's Eric Bieniemy, which that one intrigues me. Matt Nagy, that one intrigues me. The other one that they've either done or just requested, which I have zero interest, I'll tell you right now, is the Falcons quarterback coach Charles, I don't know if it's Landon, I guess Landon of his name. So I'll start with that one. Never heard of the guy. Also, this year, is there anything that Desmond Ridder did or Marcus Mariota did that made you be like, that guy's got some nice play calling, potential? And then the year before that was Matt Ryan's second worst year statistically. So I'm trying to figure out what has he done in Atlanta that's
very random. Like, where does this guy come from?
Yeah. So
unless maybe Arthur Smith has a connection with Vrabel and he was talking, and he's like, you should talk to this guy. This guy looked pretty good. Yeah. Because I just don't know how does this guy pop up on the radar. That's my question. You know what I mean?
No idea. He's not even like a senior offensive assistant or passing game coordinator or something like that. He's just quarterback coach for a team with average to below average quarterback play for a while now. Yeah. Sorry, Mariota. Apparently he quit on the team, which I still need to hear his next interview with him after he finds a new team and see what he has to say about that. I'm sorry. I have one little Titan fan that wants to say hi. Tell him hi.
Hi.
Okay, so we're making a video, so I'll talk to you later, okay? Okay?
Please.
Okay. All right, I apologize for the brief interruption. But somebody heard their uncle talking. But anyways, so you got anything else you want to say about Mr. Charles Landon?
No, not really. Just, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm all the way out. If we hired him for offensive coordinator, I would be livid. All right. Next, we'll move on over to Eric Bieniemy. Let's share your thoughts before I change your mind.
I think it'd be good. I mean, it intrigues me. The only thing is, he doesn't call the plays, so there is a question mark of what he has. I mean, but I think Andy Reid really likes him, and Andy Reid always talks about he should be a head coach, even because he's a great offensive mind. So I do believe, that I think he has potential, but I don't know if we fully see what that is. Like, it is a little bit of a question mark because he doesn't do that. Mostly it's Andy Reid who's out there scheming and stuff. But if you look at people that came under Andy Reid, they're actually really successful when they leave him. So I am intrigued that he's going to be one of them. The only thing that scares me, if he comes in and does well, I could see him be an OC for 1 year and then he's gone for a head coach. That's what I see.
Matt LaFleur 2.0, because in as an offensive coordinator previously, but didn't call the plays. So the only difference between his day-to-day duties between the Rams and the Titans is he actually got to call the plays. Did it for a year. Not even well.
No, I agree with that. I feel like now he's better than Todd Downing, which doesn't take much. But I agree. I don't think he was great. I have no idea why he got a head coach job from that. I really don't.
No idea. But good for him. Good for him. Eric Bieniemy, he's interesting. The only issue I have is I think I hear a lot of the players have a bit of a disconnect with him.
Well, I heard that he's hot-headed is what I heard, so I don't know how good that's going to be.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. That would be the only issue because when you hear a coach or a GM, which I kind of forgot to talk about GM, which I guess we'll conclude with now, but when you hear somebody who, when you work with them, they just have so many good things to say about them in passing. There's been like a lot of not as good things.
Yeah,
about him.
I agree.
So for him, I would say out of like 10 being the most all in I am for it, and 0 being I'm completely out, I would say he's like a 7.5, maybe closer to an 8. The reason I like the idea because I stop and think, who do you want calling your offense, Eric Bieniemy or Todd Downing?
Oh yeah, well anyone's an upgrade from that. I'll take the Falcons dude over Todd Downing.
Probably because he can't do much worse. Cannot do much worse. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to this one, and I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. This is who I would prefer, and that's Matt Nagy. Because this dude, again, like what, 4 or 5 years ago, he had Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, and he led them to a 12-4 season and went to the playoffs. So I'm all about Matt Nagy. Again, he used to be a head coach. I just thought it was odd that he went from being a head coach, a coach of the year, and then he ends up getting cut with little to no help. And not only did he have Mitch Trubisky, but who's he throwing the ball to?
Nobody, yeah.
Running with? Who are they running with? That's a GM issue there, if you ask my opinion. The fact that he just went to a lowly old quarterbacks coach, I think he would be an outstanding candidate. The only issue I would have with him as a candidate is if he does just revitalize our offense. People might be thinking the same thing we're thinking and be like, looks to me like he had Mitch Trubisky and nobody to throw the ball to, so maybe he's still a good offensive coordinator / head coach combo that we can just bring him in as a head coach. So.
Sadly, I think that's going to be the case with him or Eric Bieniemy. Yeah, thank you. But I think that would be a problem with either of the two. But I agree, Matt Nagy's who I went the most. And a lot of people like Matt Nagy, they think that's disgusting. But like you said, I think for what he had, he did a good job in Chicago for what he had. And also, being an offensive coordinator and a head coach is two different things. So maybe there's some little details and stuff he didn't do well as a head coach. But as an offensive coordinator, he doesn't have to worry about that. All he has to do is call up plays and get the offense ready. And I think he could do that really well.
Yeah, because like some people just aren't meant to be a head coach. Period. Yeah. Like Josh McDaniels, he had a year or two with the Broncos. Yeah, it was bad, and then he went back to be an OC, and he's going back to being a great offensive coordinator. Here he is, head coach, the second shot.
Not doing so good.
Honestly, so hot.
I feel like if he's, gets fired again, he's the one I want as an offensive coordinator because there's enough tape out there as a head coach that I don't think anyone wants him, but he can call plays. He's a good offensive coordinator. So I feel like that's somebody I would want as an offensive coordinator.
I agree, because not many people get a third shot at head coach. The only one that I can honestly really think of was the guy, Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
Who is he with?
He was Tampa Bay, Houston, and Chicago, right?
Chicago, okay, that's what I thought it was. So, yeah, he had those 3 shots.
He went to the Super Bowl with Chicago. And usually if you get to the Super Bowl and win it, which he didn't, but if you go to the Super Bowl, that gives you some more leeway that some coaches don't have.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, Matt Nagy, I'll tell you right now, I'm like 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's who I would like to. And what I'm afraid we're going to do is promote within. Get the Kelly guy. I can see us doing that. But that is such a Titan thing to do and just deflating, if you ask me.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about him next if you want to. I don't know that we've interviewed him yet, but Tim Kelly is a candidate. Honestly, Titans wanted him before Todd Downing. Like, we wanted Tim Kelly. We asked the Texans if we could interview him. And they told us no. I don't know why they told us no. But so we couldn't bring him in. So that's when we went to Todd Downing. But then we brought him in the next year after he got fired. because they were obviously trying to tank for Bryce Young or whoever. But anyways, so we brought him in as an offensive assistant and / passing game coordinator. So, that's what he's been up to. I don't know. I feel like for him, I would just be like a 4 out of 10. Like he does have success calling a good offense with a borderline elite quarterback with Deshaun Watson. But then it was not as pretty afterwards when he had the combination of so long necked guy. Can't think of their quarterback's name.
Mills.
Yeah, Davis Mills. Him and I feel like somebody else stepped in for a game or two where I said, yeah, they're definitely trying to tank. But how much you gonna do? How good of an offense you gonna have with him? So
yeah.
I just think, I agree with you because it goes back to the whole thing where like as soon as LaFleur leaves, we just promote our tight ends coach Arthur Smith. I'm like, who the heck is this? Now he worked out, but then after that, Dean Pease retires, and then Arthur Smith gets a head coach job. We're just like, I don't know. Let the linebackers coach be our new defensive coordinator. Let the new tight ends coach be our new offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, and just roll with that. And I'm just like,
I think that's Vrabel's biggest issue is coordinators. I don't think he's good at finding those.
Yeah, I mean, LaFleur was just fine. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. Not great at all, but I'd say I got to give him a C grade. But then Todd Downing was just garbage awful. Arthur Smith was really good. So in my opinion, he has one of each. He has a really good one, a really bad one, and then one just kind of in the middle. So that's my opinion on his offensive coordinators.
What I was hoping for is Arthur Smith gets fired on Black Monday, and then we pick him up. But I guess Falcons are going to give him another year, sadly.
Yeah. I hope he can be the Josh McDaniels for the Titans. Because I don't see how they're going to be much better next year. They're probably going to go all in with Desmond Ridder,
unless Riddler has something that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah,
with the offseason under his belt or whatever.
That no one's ever seen because it's not like he's a first round quarterback. He was second. Did he drop second or was it third?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but nothing too exciting. And then of course Calvin Ridley, the number 1 wide receiver, they traded away to the Jags, which I hate that because of the Jags. But so now he has no one to throw. Well, I guess he has Drake London and he has Kyle Pitts, but still, I'm just like, I don't see y'all doing a whole lot next year either. So maybe we'll bring in like Matt Nagy for a season. Matt Nagy does great. He gets hired as a head coach somewhere, and then Arthur Smith gets fired. We can bring Arthur Smith back. I will be all on that. All right, so let's go to the next one. What was your rating on Tim Kelly?
A 3, maybe. I hate because I think Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy would bring something different, and I want us to bring a new offense. Let's get a 2023 offense, okay? We've been running a 90s offense for a while now, and I realize Derrick Henry's great, but we need to update our offense, and I think these two guys would do that. I feel like Kelly being within the system.
So you think Tim Kelly will ditch his Houston system and bring in a Titan system instead?
Well, if Todd Downing, I hope he hasn't learned anything from Todd Downing. I'll just say that. And
I hope because he just got fired.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I would be very lackluster in my feelings if he were to get hired. I wouldn't be devastated, but I don't know. We'll see. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one then, I guess. Now, these are people who they have not interviewed yet, but, they're candidates. Well, I'll lump these two together. There's the Frank Reich and Cliff Kingsbury people. These are offensive head coaches who just got fired. The issues with the two. Cliff Kingsbury's never been a coordinator in the NFL. And now didn't he buy a one-way ticket to Thailand?
He did. I think he's done with the NFL for now. Not forever, but for now.
He probably is. I just don't see him going from head coach in college, head coach in football to just being a coordinator. And
I agree.
I don't think he'll do it.
I agree.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all the head coaching jobs in college football have been filled. So I think he's just got to chill for a year and then probably go back to head coaching.
Arizona still owes him a lot of money. So I think he's just chilling and being paid by Arizona.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening. So, and then similarly, Frank Reich is not taking a break from football, but his issue is he's already gotten a head coach interview.
That's what I feel like. I feel like he's going to be another head coach is what he wants.
Yeah, because in my opinion, I don't think he was the issue with the Colts. Now, I do think he could say something I didn't like after the 2021 season, and I predicted he'd get fired this year because of it. After the 2021 season, Jonathan Taylor has a breakout season with 1,800 rushing yards. He says, we have to throw the ball more and find more of a balance on offense. And so he said, I'm like, you have somebody who just shy, if he would have a stronger start to the season, he would have had a 2,000-yard season. And your game plan going into the next season is we just need to do that less. And instead, we're trying to make a washed-up Matt Ryan throw the ball more. Like as soon as he said, I'm like, can I disagree with that? But anyways, so Frank Reich, I would be very happy if we brought in Frank Reich.
Yeah, I would too. But I don't think he wants to be OC right now. I really don't.
No, I don't think either of them do. I just don't think they're realistic. But like for Cliff Kingsbury, I'm a 6 out of 10 because I feel like I don't know. I think he feels like he's above being a coordinator.
Yeah.
So if we brought him in, it would be such a short stint. I feel like he would definitely be a 1 year kind of thing. Because I'll tell you right now, you get paid way more as a head coach in college than he would as an offensive coordinator for the Titans. So like I just feel like it's not worth it. 6 out of 10. So maybe it's like a 1 year thing. But at the same time, I'm tired of the rollover with offensive coordinators, which is the issue with getting a defensive head coach. But I digress. And then Frank Reich, I'd be 8 out of 10 and on board with that one. I just, again, don't think it's realistic because he's already gotten at least one head coaching interview.
I agree. I really didn't put Frank Reich in my consideration just because I think he wants to be a head coach. And then with the other guy, Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think he wants to be in the league. I mean, for this year. I don't know if he's going NFL or college, but I know he's doing neither this year, if you ask me. I think he wants to just basically be on a year of vacation.
Yeah. Can you blame him? He's rich and got fired.
Exactly.
I can. All right. So the next one, which I've heard a lot of people be excited about, Bill O'Brien, who apparently is an NFL comeback.
So that's interesting. I wouldn't hate it. I think keep him away from making personnel choices. He did an awful job of that in Houston, but thankfully he's OC, he wouldn't do that. I wouldn't hate it, but the only thing I'll say is when he was an offensive coordinator and was good in the NFL, who did he have as a quarterback? Tom Brady. You know what I mean? So, I guess he did pretty well in Houston, but he also had Deshaun Watson. So, I'm curious what he would do with like a Ryan Tannehill, but I wouldn't hate the idea.
I wouldn't hate it. My least favorite thing about him, he's just not a nice guy.
He's not. He's
such an angry, cranky, mean person. Like, do I really want this to be like the face of my offense? But at the same time,
if he could dial up plays, that's all I care.
That's what I'm gonna say. At the same time, if he can call plays, then just be mean all you want. Except right with Vrabel at times. Vrabel wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. Well, that'd be an interesting situation. The fact that used to Bill O'Brien was head coach and had Vrabel as a defensive coordinator, and now it'd be Vrabel as head coach with Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator.
It's funny how that works, but you're right.
That would be odd. But so I would be kind of down for it. Give me a 7 out of 10. It would be higher, but it's just he's a jerk.
Yeah. I would say I wouldn't hate it. I would be a 6 or a 7 as well. Again, for me, it's not so much him being a jerk, which he is, and who knows, maybe he would make people like Derrick Henry or something like that mad, and that would be annoying. But I would just I'm curious to see what he could do with less talent, because we have way less talent than he had in New England. So, and he did good in Alabama, but in Alabama he had a bunch of talent too. So. Yeah. If at least right now with our roster as is, without free agency or draft, if he went to Tennessee right now, he would look around like, wow, I got nothing to work with. I got Derrick Henry. An aging Derrick Henry too.
Yeah, very much so. We'll see about that. Last one I want to go in real quick is Greg Roman, recently fired offensive coordinator for the Ravens. That is one where nobody stands in the middle. Some people think it's the worst idea ever. Some people think it's the best idea ever.
I don't know. I don't think me personally, I'm like, nah, but that's my opinion. But if we got him, I wouldn't hate it, but he would probably have to call a different game. I think in And sorry, looking at a scroll of the game. Anyway, I wouldn't hate it. And if he did it, he's not going to run the same offense as he did in Baltimore, so it would be different. So I have no idea what that would look like.
Here's where I would have been okay with it. If Malik Willis showed a lot of promise and we cut Tannehill and we made Malik Willis our starter for 2023, because I like the system he was able to make for Lamar Jackson, because he made an offense that not many quarterbacks could run. Because I'm going to say this, I get some hate for it. Lamar Jackson can't run a lot of offenses in the NFL.
No.
If you think he's going to drop back and throw the ball, no, that's not Lamar Jackson. But Greg Roman made an offense for Lamar Jackson. So Malik Willis obviously is way more of a runner than he is a passer. So if Malik Willis was our starter, I would give that a pretty high ranking, honestly. But
I mean, that intrigues me. I didn't think of that a connection. That'd be interesting. But go ahead.
It would be, but I just feel like Malik Willis ended up becoming the third string quarterback by the end of the season. I feel like the chances of him being our starting quarterback next year is basically.
I just don't know if to be honest, I just don't know if his throwing is good enough unless he can make a big stride. I mean, you got to be more accurate than that to be an NFL quarterback.
Or just to throw the football in general.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
His problem is, I think people were so wide open in Liberty. He had no idea what NFL open was, so he never thought. Now, our receivers were bad at getting open, don't get me wrong. But he just never thought that anybody was open enough to trust it.
I agree with that.
That's never going to change with the people we got going on right now.
But the thing is, though, is I don't know. Again, I was just saying earlier, I want us to get a 2023 offense. And if we brought him in, let's say Malik Willis was a Lamar Jackson-esque quarterback, we would still have such a run offense with, what was Ravens' biggest issue? They couldn't attract any receivers because no receiver that's worth anything wants to play in that. So we would still have no good receivers and we would just run the ball out. And
in fact, if anything, we had the opposite where there's people like Hollywood Brown requesting trades.
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
want targets. So, So all in all, I would just put that right smack dab in the middle with like a 5. I would like it better probably than Tim Kelly. I would like it better than, Charles Landon, obviously. I would like it. I don't remember who else do we say. I'm looking at my paper. Cliff Kingsbury, because even if Cliff Kingsbury were to do it, it would just be like a 1-year thing. So, I like it better than some, but, I don't love it. So, 5. I'll just throw them right in the middle of 5. It's better than Todd Downing, but besides Charles Landon, I think every single one of these is probably better than Todd Downing.
Oh, I agree.
So, you have anything else you want to say about the offensive coordinators? Besides, it seems like we're both in agreement that Matt Nagy, dude.
Nope, I think that covers that. Yeah,
okay.
I agree. Matt Nagy's my dude.
Yep, good deal. So we're about 33-ish minutes into the video. So the last thing we're going to end on this, and I meant to do this before the offensive coordinator thing because I knew the offensive coordinator would be the biggest topic, because I feel like by the time I put this video out, by the time we make another one, we'll already have the new OC. In fact, that might even be what we do as a reaction to the new offensive coordinator. But anyways, obviously J-Rob got fired after getting slaughtered by the Eagles, which people can say has nothing to do with A.J. Brown all they want to, but I think it had everything to do with A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
But anyways, we had a lot of people we were talking to, like Ian Cunningham from the Bears, who I was against. So many people, that was their number one option, was Ian Cunningham. And I'm just looking at this Bears roster that's just not great. And I'm thinking, why do we want that? Conversation with Charles Landon, where Charles Landon has a bad quarterback play. So why are we trying to bring him in as an offensive coordinator? So that's how I felt about Ian Cunningham. There was some older dude from – I think it might have been from the Chiefs, some older dude from the Chiefs, which I'd never heard of. I can't remember his name. We had Ran Carthon, who was my number one choice, just because I look at that 49ers roster, and if you erase quarterback, who they may have even found as Mr. Irrelevant with Brock Purdy, their roster's just so deep. They do it through the draft. They do it through free agency. They do it through trades. Like they know how to bring good football players in.
They have a stacked roster.
They just do at every position. Now, they did do some things I don't think are great. I think they gave away way too much capital for Trey Lance. I don't think that was a good idea. Solomon Thomas.
Sorry. No, he was such a question mark, but he had so much upside. He had everything you wanted. But because his issue right now, I don't know his talent. He literally can't stay healthy. He played only like 2 games last year and got hurt, and then he played 1 game this year and got hurt. Well, 2 games. I don't know
Jimmy
how many.
backing him out or bailing him out. I mean, the 49ers. But then he went down as well, which has been one of the biggest issues. They want to move on from him.
Yeah.
They got Brock Purdy to save the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm looking at how deep that roster is, and they do it in so many different ways. As soon as I would see him, I'd be like, he's young, and this will be his first shot. Because a lot of times, people like J-Rob, if anyone just gave him another shot, guess what? He got fired because he messed things up at his last job. So I'm always so weary of getting somebody with a second attempt at being a GM.
Yeah.
You hope they've learned from their ways. But Ran Carthon, I feel like he'd been around a lot of smart people, worked his way up, because almost every year or two he would get a promotion and work his way up and up and up. And he was definitely up and coming. He's only 41 years old. That's who I wanted us to go after. Obviously, I have way, way, way less knowledge on a front office person than I do a coach or a player.
Yeah.
But Ran Carthon, I'm like, I want that guy. And by golly, we got him.
Yeah, I would say this. I hope we got the right guy, and because getting the right GM is huge. So it's so very important, but it's something that I don't even talk about much because I don't know these people. All the people that was getting interviewed, I never heard of any of them. Okay, and I'm like, I know coaches, I know offense coordinators, defensive coordinators. Sometimes I know even position coaches, but I don't know, any assistant GM or whatever world I don't know any of these guys. So it's all gambling to me. If I had to pick, I think we got the right guy just because, like you said, he was successful. Like, he was moving up, and there's a lot of stuff that says that he'll be good, but we really don't know because once he's the guy who's in charge, he's got everything on his plate now. It's a whole different animal. So we really don't know what we got in him. I liked everything he said in his interview, but I'll say that his press conference. But the thing about it is, you could talk a big game, but you still got to go out there and do it. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
You watched the press conference?
I watched some of it, and I liked a lot what he was saying.
Yeah, especially when he almost cussed talking about Mike Vrabel. Did you hear that part?
I did not hear that part.
No, he's like, no team I've ever seen that takes on the identity of their head coach like the Tennessee Titans. He's like, Mike Vrabel is he's a hard-nosed, well, I was going to say something, but my kids are sitting there in the front row. And then he started going about something else. So I don't know what he was. Maybe it's just really funny.
So he's kissing Vrabel's butt already.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing I picked up on that interview. He completely talked like he was under Vrabel that whole time. Like, he didn't act like – because technically, GM is the head coach's boss. Yeah. But the way he talked that whole time was like, Vrabel is my boss. He's going to tell me what he wants. I'm going to go get it. So. And
the thing about it is, if you think about it, Vrabel's been here and done that. A lot of people think he's a top coach in the league. And he is a first-time GM. So it's probably easy for Vrabel to kind of flex some muscle around him. And easy for him to yes, sir, because, again, he's new to this, you know what I mean? So I can see that happening. Not to mention, Vrabel seems like an alpha dog anyway. So I hope they have a good relationship. I hope they don't butt heads, because he looks like somebody, once he gets comfortable, maybe that would happen. Hopefully not, but I'm hoping it's better than John Robinson, because what I don't know if you heard this or not, but I was hearing from other articles and stuff that they was alluding to Vrabel and Amy Adams was that John Robinson would do stuff that no one liked, and he would just pull the trigger anyway, that he wasn't very good at communicating. And I bet that A.J. Brown was probably one of those things that no one liked, and he just did it anyway. So I'm hoping that means Vrabel and our new GM is going to have a better communication with, like, hey, we need this, and he does that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot of that too, saying that J-Rob kind of worked independently, almost like, I'll let you head coach, I'll let you own, I'm going to GM, and we're good. And it just...
And the thing about that is, technically, that is how it's supposed to be done, but you just got to do it well. And John Robinson, at the end of the day, wasn't doing it well. You know what I mean?
No, you have to collaborate. When you're with somebody that long, going to all these draft things,
Yeah.
You just have to be on the same page and talk things through. You just have to.
Yeah.
Maybe they did to some extent. But I think the biggest reason I'm excited about is hiring Ran Carthon is because we didn't get Ryan Cowden. He might be great. He might be amazing. But again, it goes back to that. Sometimes you need new ideas. You just need new ideas.
Yeah.
Out of house ideas. Like we had just promoted Ryan Cowden, promoted Tim Kelly, and then just went on with our merry way. I'd just be like,
that would be such a Titan thing to do.
It would be like, so we're just tanking. Okay, cool. We better hope we got some good quarterbacks in the next draft because that's what we're gonna be picking from. But yeah, so that's all I gotta say about Ran Carthon because really their resume is all you have to go off of as a GM, and obviously his GM resume hasn't started.
Yeah. So. But when free agency / the draft starts, will be in a couple months. We shall see, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
but I'll say this: John Robinson, he started off hot. I like John Robinson for his first several years. So, hopefully he doesn't just start off hot. Hopefully he stays hot.
It was 2020, 2021, and 2022. It was those last 3 years.
That sunk him. Yep, I agree.
Because which is I almost feel bad for him because it's possible he may have given us a borderline elite draft this year. Because Treylon Burks looks to me like he's an NFL player. He's an NFL wide receiver. He's not going to be someone like Corey Davis, where like his rookie he had 375 yards. Then he had only 600 in his second year. Then he broke out a little bit. I think he had 800, and then he broke out and had 900.
How
and then
do
he
you
went back.
Remember all this?
Then he had 2 seasons with the Jets where he was hurt more than he was and had like 300 yards each year. I think he had 300 the first year, like 400 and something the second year. Where I'm just like 5th overall, not good. Like I don't think that's Treylon Burks. I think Treylon Burks he's a number 1, maybe a number 2 wide receiver. He'll be fine. He'll be fine in the NFL. 2nd round pick, Roger McCreary. He was a day 1 starter. I'd only give him a C grade, but he started every game he was healthy. Then you go to the 3rd round. We got Malik Willis, which is value, a lot of value there. I think he sucks. Then Nicholas Petit-Frere, who is our starting right tackle, who just thrown in there with some more coaching and a different O-line coach who we also fired. We didn't really talk about, but with a better O-line coach in there, maybe we get him developed and it'll be a really good 3rd round pick. You move to the 4th round. We got Chig Okonkwo, obviously. Hassan Haskins wasn't really a big part of the team, but then Chig Okonkwo was obviously he led the league with receiving yards for a tight end rookie this year. Then you move to the 5th round. Then you got Kyle Phillips, who could have been something, but obviously got hurt. But his first game, he had 9 targets, 6 catches for 66 yards, just to come on into the NFL. Who else did we get in the back half of that? We had Theo Jackson, who didn't really turn out. We had Chance Campbell, who was the 7th round pick, but I think he got put on IR before the season as well, because we're the Titans. But like it has a chance to be a really, 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 really good draft. And it's funny that he drafted him, and that's basically the last thing he did. And then fired, gone. That's with it. But anyways, so our next video is going to be one of 2 things. Either it's going to be an offensive coordinator reaction video because we have one, or number 2, it's going to be the beginning of us talking about the roster. I think the first thing we would do would be, I don't know, part of me says we save quarterback for last, another part of me says we go with quarterback first. But we'll start the roster talk. So either it's going to be about the front 7 or the quarterback talk. So is there anything else? We're 43 minutes in. Is there anything else you want to add to this video before we wrap this bad boy up?
Not really. Just let's hope the next time we make a video, we'll have some good news with the OC. And I think we both think maybe we did the right thing with the GM. But again, you can't say for sure right now. But, we think we like that hire. We'll just say that. So hopefully we'll get the right guy at OC and we'll be happy 2 for 2. So let's keep our fingers crossed with that one.
Yep, fingers crossed. I'm glad your phone didn't die or your computer didn't die in the middle of our video. It's been a while.
Good. Computer's getting low, but
It's a very end this thing before you freeze, making a weird face. So anyways, that's going to do it for the Pilcher Bros. We are out. We will see you in the next video. See you later. Boom.